This semester, I took my first communication class ever, Communications 120. I have never thought of myself as a proficient or even decent public speaker, as I am anxious, stumble over words, and have moderate dyslexia that hinders my reading speed. However, I needed a communications class to complete my major, so I went ahead and enrolled. An online communication class seemed less daunting than if I were to get up and speak in front of a room of people, which is something that appears frequently in my nightmares. But I was terrified nonetheless. Nowhere in my mind had it occurred that this class would be less about scaring me with speeches and more about the actual meat of communication, such as the different types, the nonverbal aspects, and the unconscious elements. At the end of it all, I had nothing to fear from this class after all. It was helpful and fun, and the textbook was very insightful reading. I'm thankful I was not too scared to go through with taking Communications 120 after all. Throughout this class, I've learned many things about communication. I've learned how communication differs across cultures and how to identify, react to, and de-escalate a conflict. I learned things that I did not realize were a part of communication, like the unconscious perception of other people and nonverbal cues like facial expressions and tone of voice. I have also learned to identify miscommunication as a common plot device or trope in film and television. Furthermore, I was able to delve into some very interesting articles and examine my relationships with several people around me. The most valuable aspect of this class, for me, was learning about the various nonverbal aspects of communication. I often struggle with identifying forms of communication that are not plainly spoken as I am on the spectrum. I get very easily confused by these. For example, if someone says they are fine but has a sad tone, I will seldom pick up on this tone, and I will then assume that they are, like they have just said, fine. On the other hand, I often speak with a flat tone, no hand gestures, and no smile at all. I can be having the most fun I've ever had and will be just as monotone. The number one critique I got in school after reading something aloud for class was that I needed to inflect. This upset me because it is simply the way I talk, and on top of it being hard to change, I was unaware of how inflection would change anything about what I was reading. Something I also learned was that most people do not start and end conversations by stating that the conversation is starting or ending. This is something that I do frequently, and I have found very few problems with. I think the manner of starting and ending a conversation is something that probably differs from person to person. The nuances of communication are often very tricky for me, so instead of leaving things unsaid and hoping nonverbal communication will do the job for me, I will usually state whatever it is I am feeling, like I am hungry, I am excited, or this food is bad, or this drink is good. Learning about how nonverbal messages can contradict our verbal messages has helped me decode how people are really feeling. In addition to this, I've realized that my nonverbal, unconscious factors, such as a flat voice, non-expressive face, and still hands, may give an impression to people that I am bored, tired, or do not enjoy their company. I'm unable to change much about how I sound or emote because much of this is unconscious, but my eyes have been opened. As previously stated, I tend to say whatever I'm feeling out loud instead of letting my face and body language express the emotion. I've realized that this might come off as blunt, so to counter this, I've started to communicate more of the positive emotions I'm feeling, like stating I'm excited or I'm happy, and then just leaving the rest in my head. This class has taught me many things, my favorite of which being nonverbal communication and how I can better work on my nonverbal communication skills. I used to be a lot more afraid of things like speaking up or talking to strangers, but this class has made me infinitely more comfortable.